Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of ChimpChat. I'm Jeff with Flying Chimp. We are joined today by Derek Fahey. Derek is a patent attorney with a PlusIP firm where he helps business owners and inventors protect their inventions and protect their identity and their intellectual property through legal actions, trademarks, patents, and that kind of stuff. Derek, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks.
All right, so let's get right into it because everybody only wants to talk about COVID and coronavirus related things. What have you seen from your end with your clients? How they pivoted? How has COVID impacted their business?
Well, I think initially everybody was on a pause. First week or so, everybody stopped and froze and was trying to determine what to do next. And now the next we're here. People have observed the issues, have observed challenges, and now they've made changes to solve those problems.
Right on. So they're moving forward. Talk to me about how many of your clients have pivoted to a different direction.
Many, everybody who can has. So for example, you may have companies like distilleries or CBD companies that have alcohol and different types of things that can be used for sanitizer in their industry. They're actually now selling sanitizer. You have manufacturing companies that can manufacture products. Those companies are now manufacturing different types of lighting mechanisms and other types of devices that can help prevent or help sanitize certain items. Just an example.
Okay, so what from an intellectual property standpoint have they started to do, and have any of the people that own a lot of the IP properties that are out there soften their restrictions to protect the rest of the world?
Great question. One of the main things that many of my clients have been doing is, and it just kind of goes along with what you do, Jeff, is they're using their brand to sell their items. So one of the things that they're doing is they're making sure that their brand doesn't infringe on somebody else's brand. So for example, if Pink Elephant Company is selling beer and they're now selling alcohol, and they're now selling and pivoted to sell hand sanitizer under Pink Elephant, they want to make sure that there's nobody else with a Pink Elephant sanitizer brand out there. So they're really making sure that they're not infringing on anybody else's rights because of their pivot.
Go ahead.
And then that was it really. It's just they're making sure that they're not infringing on anybody else's rights. And if they can, they're looking to protect whatever they have invented, if necessary.
So from a patent perspective, so let's say somebody owned, example, Purell owns the patent on hand sanitizer. I don't think they do, but let's say they did. Have any companies out there been like, hey, we need to help the world, whether they own it on a ventilator or whatever it happens to be. We want to help the world, and right now we need to help the world more than we need to make money. Has anybody sort of softened it the way almost like Tesla has with their battery technology? Have they opened up a lot of their patents to the rest of the world because they want to see electric car technology take off, because they kind of want to improve the world? Maybe that's not the reason, don't know. That's what they said the reason was. Have any of the companies out there that have patents on health-based things soften that up that you know of?
I can speak to one thing. There's a young kid that actually developed, because everybody's wearing, a lot of healthcare workers are wearing masks. They're getting sores from wearing their masks so much. This young gentleman, he developed just a device that pulls the items off the back of your ears, and basically is an attachment that the straps attach to that prevents the sores. He basically said anybody can use it, and they can print it with 3D printing. So a lot of companies are actually using that design and 3D printing it. And he basically said, I'm giving this to the world. That's one example that people are actually, or that he has done, so to speak.
I hope it works out for him, because that's awesome. I'm glad that, that he, I mean, that's kind of nice. I mean, obviously you and I know one another through Rotary. Rotary is a service-based organization where we try to, do good in the world. So it's nice to hear people doing good in the world. And I really hope it does work out for him, because he kind of deserves it. It was a kid, right, that did that? It was.
I think he's a Boy Scout, I want to say, but young guy. I mean, definitely younger than 20 for sure.
Right. I think like sub 18. I want to say I saw a photo of him. I thought like maybe 14, 15 or something like that. I mean, that's awesome. They kind of did that, but none of the like larger entities that you know that have done that, or not. There's nothing
I
to think
haven't
about.
heard. I'm sure they're out there. I personally haven't heard anything.
So what have you seen in your business other than the pause and people waiting for that first week until they kind of put their the foot back on the gas? What kind of changes have you done in your business? I know that you've got offices throughout the country right now. What have you done differently?
I think a lot of the things we've done, we actually got recommended from you, Jeff, to be quite honest with you. We change our messaging. We're looking to help people that are looking to help others through this COVID crisis. So we have filed a lot of several patent applications that are dealing with COVID-19. People are also helping or looking to develop different products related to COVID-19 and also other virus preventing inventions, because let's face it, this low touch culture of people not wanting to touch different items and wanting to make sure that they're not going to be affected by viruses is going to be around to stay for a long period of time. So we're seeing a lot of people thinking 3-5 years ahead, trying to think about, okay, what devices are going to be out there that are going to help people from contracting any sort of virus in the future. So we're seeing people thinking 3-5 years ahead, developing products, services that are going to prevent other people or are going to prevent them or the person from catching viruses. We're seeing a lot of that come in now, not just to the end of the pandemic, but until, to help other people, or excuse me, we're seeing a lot of it come in to help, in the future, preventing other people from catching some sort of virus or
Right.
like that. Yeah.
Well, I know that you're always thinking kind of, in the future. And I know, for example, I'm recalling a conversation and a presentation you had given, a lecture you had given 2 years ago about kind of automated cars and how the automated car revolution that is going to happen. That's kind of a guaranteed fact. The only really question is timing about the automated cars and how that's going to impact almost the options on parking lots, because parking lots will become a thing of the past in a lot of population dense areas. What are you seeing? If you can, if you can share that information, what are you seeing about 3-5 years down the road from a low touch culture where people are a little bit more concerned about the spreading of diseases now that we've kind of been affected for the first time in this country in over 100 years? What does the future say about that stuff?
That's a great question. I think that in the future, let's think about the problem that we're currently in. We're all in our homes. We're all working from home. Our environments and our workplaces have changed. And because of that change, people are noticing problems. And once you notice a problem, there's a solution to the problem. That's what inventors do. They identify a problem, they observe a problem, and they find a solution. So because of all the change that's happened, you're going to see so much technology coming up with, okay, now if we have to go back into the situation, how do we handle it? Can we change some sort of software? Can we devise some sort of service that's pandemic proof? A lot of companies have thrived in this situation, but I think a lot of people are going to start saying, okay, how can I change my business to deal with this in the future if it happens? How can we add devices to restaurants to prevent that from happening? How can we do different things to basically reduce the probability that we're going to catch some sort of virus in the future, whether it's a chemical related invention or an apparatus. Maybe it's a special doorknob that doesn't have some sort of, that doesn't carry bacteria or viruses or microscopic organisms. I think people are going to start thinking, how can we prevent things from transmitting through touching? And whether it's chemical, whether it's mechanical, maybe it's the software. People are really going to think about this. People are going to be thinking how to prevent this for a long period of time. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the future, because I think that if people are saying the new normal, I think it's really true. People are really going to change the way they do business because of this. And if there's a solution, inventors and humans are going to find a solution. If there's a problem, they're going to find a solution for it.
And I think it's interesting. You said, a new way of doing business, but really what you're talking about is a new way of living life. It's not
Yeah.
just how we're going to be interacting from a business perspective, but how we're interacting on our daily lives. I mean, from as simple as, I just saw like a little like kind of key fob type thing where you can open up a door handle and operate like the pump at the gas station, which is a known, kind of bastion of bacteria. Your sister's a doctor, so
Yeah.
you're very familiar with this. So it's kind of a way to kind of keep your hands free, not open up doors yourself. And it's kind of a neat sort of like little $5 doohickey. I'm sure they were charging a lot more than $5 for it, but it was just a little piece of metal that allowed you to do, or plastic, whatever it was, that it kind of
Yeah.
had a touch sensitive thing to it. I thought it was kind of a neat way of very quick kind of interaction of being able to kind of create that low touch scenario. All right, so let's talk some blocking and tackling as it pertains to the patent and trademark world. I know one of the biggest issues in what you do is the federal government, where obviously in order for a patent to be issued, it kind of impacts timing. How has this impacted the timing as far as getting your IP registered?
Great question. So the patent office, they listed a whole bunch of, well, several different things that they're doing to deal with the COVID-19. They're making certain, if you petition, they're actually reducing fees in certain cases, but that's a longer conversation. So the USPTO is actually doing certain things. As far as the timing of things, very interestingly, I actually spoke with a examining attorney a few days ago, and I said, well, how have things changed? And she said that how about 90% of the workforce for the trademark office attorneys actually worked remotely. So they've been doing this for a long period of time. So quite honestly, I think they may not be affected that much, and maybe they have some admin staff that are in-house that have changed a little bit, that had to pivot and deal with not being able to go into the office. But the vast majority of attorneys that work for the USPTO, they actually work remotely. Just to quote her, she said about 90% of the examining attorneys at the trademark office were remote. So I don't see that slowing down anything. Maybe it will actually make the examination process go faster because filings have gone down a little bit because of just commerce has slowed down. So it may actually speed things up in the trademark office. Who knows? Maybe you don't have to wait 7 months, but who knows? But I think that how it's interesting to say how it's impacted because they've been operating mostly remote, from my understanding, for several years now.
So it shouldn't impact much of anything. All right.
Yeah.
So then one final question. I know that when we've had conversations in the past, you've talked about the pendulum, right? And what the Patent and Trademark Office is willing to give patents to and willing to give trademarks to in whatever capacity. Where's the pendulum now on pretty much the litany of various things?
Yes, that's a great question. So when I was referring to that pendulum comment, there's first for software-related patents, there's a big issue that's too complex, or just this conversation is just going to be too short for that issue. But I'll just kind of refer to that as whenever you're dealing with the patent office, you need to find a good attorney that knows how far they can push. Sometimes to get intellectual property, you have to fight for what you're getting. So for example, you may file a patent application trying to capture this much intellectual property. Imagine intellectual property and a patent is a fence, and you're trying to capture this much of your fence, okay, this much. But then they push back and say, you know what, you're only allowed to capture this much of the fence. And then you have to fight and say, no, you need to capture this much. So I guess go and get a good patent attorney to help you get your patent, and that's probably the best advice I can get. Is make sure you hire a patent attorney that's familiar with the area of technology that you're working with. That's probably the best advice I could tell you.
All right, so that's the perfect segue. Speaking of good patent attorneys, why don't you give me a 30-second plug about you and PlusIP?
Okay, So yeah, Derek Fahey. I'm a trademark and a patent attorney with the PlusIP firm. We do intellectual property and handle intellectual property matters. My background is in industrial engineering and electrical engineering. Worked as an engineer for 4 or 5 years. My business partner was a patent examiner. So we're specialists. We only handle intellectual property matters. We do this a lot. We love what we do. We're passionate. And we're always willing to talk with somebody and help them basically capture as much intellectual property as they can. And always happy to help.
Sounds good. All right, I'm going to include Derek's information in the contact information below for YouTube. Derek, thank you much for your time today. I really appreciate it. It was really interesting stuff. If you have any more questions, definitely give Derek a call, shoot him off an email, and he's exceptional at what he does. Everybody out there, I'm Jeff with Flying Chimp. Remember, be safe, be kind, pass the hat, help local businesses. A lot of businesses out there are hurt pretty badly, so make sure you go out and do your thing and help out local businesses. Until next time, I'll see you.